This message is sponsored by a local court and venue near you, pissing on your back and convincing you that it's raining. Allocution, oral declamation of rights, and non-consent at sentencing. The document below is to be read orally to the court following conviction of a whatever and just prior to sentencing. The particular allocution below is the work and experience of one man during a traffic trial with a charge of no valid registration plates. Excuse me. There are two parts to allocution. A declamation of rights and errors in the trial, etc., along with producing affidavits, information, and mitigating facts. And B, declamation of non-consent to any fines, taxes, prisons, etc. Allocution has its origins in the common law. See Corpus Juris Secundum Criminal Law, subsection 1573 through 1576. One must be totally alert to ask for the opportunity to say something prior to sentencing. And I wouldn't say ask, it's demand. If you know your rights, you're not asking about them, you're demanding them. Second of all, I would never ask a question I don't already know the answer to. I know it's rhetorical and it's redundant, but you want to see whether or not these people are going to operate in law or operate in the color of law, and they'll show you your true colors. If you know the answers already to the questions, now you know what you're dealing with, okay? Before the judge starts the sentencing, interrupt if necessary, but do it. Request a separate sentencing hearing at least 2 weeks hence. Give yourself time to write the allocution. Do not give this information in writing to the court or the opposing attorney beforehand, as it is only valid when orally presented to the court by the living sentient man or woman, and you do not want to forewarn the enemy. The legal fiction is civilly dead and cannot speak. The court needs your consent to impose any sentencing or punishment or fines or restrictions of any kind, etc. In almost 100% of the cases, the sentient man or woman becomes the surety or stand-in for the legal fiction defendant and takes on the burden of the sentencing pronouncement. It is the legal fiction which is indicted, tried, and convicted. It is the sentient man or woman who takes on the sentence. The court needs the consent of the sentient man to impose a sentence and get it through presumption, silence, acquiescence, or outright consent to apply to the surety. It is the sentient man or woman who now serves the sentence, the style of the case through conviction for the defendant is in all capital letters. The style of the sentenced party is upper and lower case. When finished with the oral allocution, one must turn around and walk out of the court and its jurisdiction immediately. Do not hear the judge or the prosecutor or anyone else, even if they are screaming at you to stop or come back here. If one does, then jurisdiction is given back to the court, i.e., you have contracted back in. Allocution Part 1. During the trial, you were denied exculpatory evidence such as the court not answering motions, notice, affidavits, allowing witnesses, etc. Keep a list of such omissions, errors, and due process denial during the trial, especially constitutional guarantees, okay? And your substantial rights. Substantial rights are very important, ladies and gentlemen. Allocution Part 2. Read the following statement, i.e., create your own written statement to reflect your specific situation and trial activities. There is no time limit on its reading. Do not give in to interpretation. For the record, Your Honor, I, a man, living upon the land and speaking as a man, as only a man can, I was created in the image of Yahweh under the authority of the Redeemer, Jesus Christ, with all my senses intact. I'm canceling the conviction and all appearances on my part, and now cancel any and all contracts entered into by me, knowingly or unknowingly, by any methods including but not limited to verbal, by assent, consent, presumption, assumption, deception, threat, duress, coercion, fraud, fiction, fantasy, or illusion, or any other method, including words of art, magic, and sophistry, casualty, or outright lying, or by suspicious acts of phallus, deceptive, delusive, misleading, apparent, elusive, illusory, ostensible practice of law. A. This proceeding has failed to produce evidence of an injured party. B. This proceeding has failed to produce an affidavit of verified complaint or the existence of a complaining party. C. This proceeding has failed to produce an injured party unto the witness stand for testimony. D. This proceeding has failed to produce and to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. E. This proceeding has failed to produce an honorable ruling. Therefore, the court could rule only by an undisclosed presumption of an assumed intention, and this may be deemed the practice of witchcraft by a satanic cabal. F. This proceeding and this court has now lost all jurisdiction by its denial of due process. I have not violated Yahweh's law. I have not caused an injury to another living man. This would be a violation of the royal law of love your neighbor as yourself, or a man's interpretation, do unto others as you would have done to them, or done to you. I have not committed a crime, and there is nothing on which to convict me. Thus, the conviction is null and void, and any bonds affiliated or associated with this case, whether they were issued with the citation in the form of a bid bond, or as an appearance bond, or as a performance bond, or as a payment bond, which have been written as a result of this procedure, and any other bonds written in any other way, shape, or form whatsoever, I hereby now cancel, terminate, discharge, dismiss, deactivate, eradicate, nullify, quash, rescind, repeal, revoke, abrogate, abolish, and expunge, and I forbid the commercial use of my name and likeness for profit, as all bonds created, whether on record or not, are void ab initio, as only I, a man, can cause. I do not accept any offer to, nor do I give consent to, nor will I go to jail, go to prison, pay or discharge any fines, fees, court costs, nor taxes of any kind. I do not accept nor consent to have my rights blocked or impeded in any way, shape, or form. I do not accept any offer nor consent to have my body or possessions seized or confiscated or used by anyone or their agent for their own use or for the benefit of another, unjust enrichment. I do not accept any offer nor do I consent to probation, parole, pre or post-trial release, or any other form of supervision imposed for this matter or in association with this matter, which may be attempted to be linked with or in causation with this matter, or placed twice in jeopardy for the same pretend crime. I, this man, Derek Shaitan Gonzalez, reserve all my natural God-given unalienable birthrights, waiving none, ever, as all is conditional upon my receipt of your written statement of claims and proof of claim to the contrary under your bond of office and penalties of perjury. My public business here is completed, perfected, discharged, accomplished, dismissed, concluded, terminated, and, as Jesus Christ our Lord and Savior stated, finished. Immediately turn around and walk out of the courtroom. Do not acknowledge the judge or the opposing attorney under any circumstances. If the judge asks for a copy of your allocution, do not respond. It is on the record, and he cannot get it, and he can get it there. If the bailiff stands in your path on the way out, DDT him like Diamond Dallas Page. No, I'm just joking. I just put that in there. Ask him to arrest the judge for treason, abrogated his oath of office, and move on. Do not hesitate. According to Michael Stone, this procedure is authorized under FRCP Rule 60, 1946 Amendment, Note to Subdivision B. Since the rules have been enforced, decisions have been rendered that the use of bills of review, quorum nobis, N-O-B-I-S, or audita quoral, AUDITA-QUERELA, to obtain relief from final judgment is still proper, and that various remedies of this kind still exist, although they are not mentioned in the rules and the practice is not prescribed in the rules. It is obvious that the rules should be complete in this respect and define the practice with respect to any existing right or remedies to obtain relief from final judgments. Now, remember, this only works if you didn't cause any harm, injury, damage, or loss. Okay? This whole thing is about responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. If you were inebriated and you ran over somebody's mailbox, go back and get post hole diggers and put the damn mailbox up. Maybe wait 18 to 24 hours so you're, whatever, no longer inebriated. But go back and do the responsible thing and put up the mailbox, ladies and gentlemen. You cause an injury to somebody, stop, knock on the door, ask them what it takes to make it right. You must see if you can settle these affairs privately, or you will end up in a court where both of you more than likely will get fleeced for the unjust enrichment of these bar attorneys. So, with that said, this all is about responsibility at the end of the day. Okay, at the end of the day, it's all about responsibility. I, as a man, am responsible for my actions. My intent is not to go out and maliciously cause harm, injury, damage, or loss, whether it be by deception, fraud, any of those things, because I, as a man, was raised better than that. And subconsciously, I think whether you were raised that way or not, everybody knows that stealing is wrong, okay? And so fundamentally, unanimously throughout the world, to take something that doesn't otherwise belong to you is wrong. Unless you're Christopher Columbus and you discover it. You discover it. I discovered this car, you know? So, anyway, thank you for joining me. That was allocution, the writ of allocution. You have a right to allocution. I need you guys. Oh, we got somebody who wants to join. Let's see what's up. Oh, Keith. What's up, buddy? I'm going to add you, Keith. Let's see what happens. Adding. So, writ of allocution, the right to allocution, extraordinarily important. Hey, what's up,
brother? Hey, folks. I want to tell you something here because this man is speaking the truth. This is Matthew 18, verses 15 through 20. And if you look in the comments here, I just told, and this is something I spread around. I spent 3.5 and then not going to court. And one of those cases was where my 2 dogs got out and ran loose, and they bit another man's dog. This man had to take his dog to the vet for care. The police didn't want to let me know who this man was, but on the ticket, it had his name. So I looked him up, and I found him and his woman, and I went to their house. I knocked on their door, just as Derek is telling you here. And I signed those tickets, UCC 1-308, and never went to their court. I went to this man instead. And to this day, I have a written receipt signed by both myself and him, where I paid for his vet bill and then some. I got down on my knees and I looked at his daughter that was crying because her dog got bit. And I made my private apologies in their home. And to this day, like I said, read them comments. I've got 11 citations out there. I never appeared because I signed them UCC 1-308. That was asserting my right. I do not wish to contract. If I would have then turned around and appeared in that court, that is saying in a different language, a physical language, that I now wish to contract. You can't do that.
You entered into the constructive trust. If you turn around, you enter right back into a constructive trust and you accept liability. So
Correct.
Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution for America clearly gives us the unlimited right to contract and not to contract. And it gives us the ability to be responsible for our actions. And so what Keith is testifying here to is the fact that when you act accordingly, responsibly, and you handle your affairs as a man, there is nothing the corporation can do to you. They absolutely
Right. Pay
cannot
attention to the
interfere
words.
with your personal business as long as you conduct yourself admirably.
Right. Pay attention to the words. He used a very important word there, accordingly. That's accord and satisfaction according to their commercial code.
That's right.
Okay?
Yep.
Everything, UCC 1-103.3. The law is to be uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And in that, you have to know thyself in all jurisdictions. You have to know thyself in your father's house as a steward, a ward of his house, to go forth in prosperity and abundance, to treat thy neighbor as thyself.
Absolutely.
If my dog got bit by somebody else, I want them to pay my bill, because if they're going to go to court, that court's not going to pay my vet bill. They're just going to charge him and give him some kind of fine. They're not going to pass it on and help me pay my vet bill.
That's right. That's right. They
so
seek
either
to
way,
bring
when
an
you go
action
to
for
court,
which they
you're
can
still not
unjustly
taking care of your responsibility.
Yep, they seek to bring an action for which they can justify their unjust enrichment, and yet the defendant and the plaintiff are always the ones who end up suffering in the end. The plaintiff never gets remedy, and the defendant gets fleeced and doesn't have the funds to pay the plaintiff anymore because he's too busy paying the court.
Right, and this is
unbelievable.
Proof. This is proof that we are the only ones that can bring remedy. And that's why I say, use your head. Use your head. I just posted a review of a video that I did on my own case 3 years ago. And I spoke of this very thing. We are the only ones that can bring remedy. And in order to do that, we have to use our head, because they're not going to do it for you. Period.
Yep. And in a court, they will always argue the minor issue. They never take on the subject matter. If you pay attention in court, it took me a while to see it, but I started to realize it when they wanted to bring charges against me. And the first charge they wanted to bring against me was resisting arrest. Well, I said, well, that assumes that I did something unlawful in the first instance, or i.e. illegal in the first instance. Let's attack the real subject matter here and find out whether or not what I did was illegal or unlawful first before we make a determination of whether or not I resisted arrest. Don't we have to find the conclusive evidence that there was even a cause for being accosted in the first instance? And if there wasn't a cause to be accosted in the first instance, then what say you? How the hell did I resist a lawful and legal arrest if the initial stop wasn't warranted, merited, or constituted by any of your rules, regulations, statutes, and provisions?
Right. And here I'll mention these Terry stops. This is, a lot of you guys have seen my little ID of the bicycle driver license.
Let me stop you there. I wouldn't call it an ID. Those are private credentials. People are getting in trouble by creating ID. Identification is for the entity. You don't have the right to create that, but you do have a right to create your own private credentials. Okay, so it's very important for the viewing audience to understand that. Credentials are what you can create because you are a creator, you are a creditor. That's where the creditor comes from, is the creator. So
yes. But anyway, you see that little card that I've been passing around, and the whole concept of the Terry stop is they want that ID.
Right.
There is not one single law that says that you are required to have one.
That's right. That's right.
So when they stop me and they ask me for an ID, this is my response. I'm sorry, I don't have one. And they automatically accept that because they know there is no law.
That's right.
So their next step is, well, what's your name? I'm sorry, I don't have a name. Well, everybody's got a name. Only persons have name. Real men have a calling.
That's right.
And I've been called Keith all my life.
Right.
I hail from the kin little, And I hear I was born about August 20th, 1966.
You know, there
Now,
was
what
a,
I've done there is I've given them the information that they are in fact looking for, but want to misconvey it as name and birth date. I
right.
didn't give them any such thing. I told them I have a calling and I hear I was born.
There was a very, very, very intelligent lawyer one time on a Johnny Carson show. I shared it on my Facebook wall. And he comes
I
out
remember that.
sits down, and Johnny says, so what's your name? And he says, that's all hearsay. Johnny says,
Yep.
you don't have a name? He says, oh, well, as far as I know, I'm called so-and-so, but it's all hearsay. And,
Yep.
you know, he just goes to reaffirm everything that you're stating there. And it's really miraculous, the imprisonment of one's mind, the manipulation of language, being able to distort one's mind. Back in the Salem witch days, all these lawyers would have been hung because they'd all been found guilty of witchcraft and sorcery to pollute man's mind. They had been burned at the stake. I've had a lawyer tell me that if the American people knew what you knew, Derek, every last one of us would be swinging from light poles tomorrow, and the streets would be lined with our blood. Because you're absolutely right. We've perverted the justice system 180 degrees. It benefits us. We've convinced the American people, and furthermore the people of the world, that they don't know anything, and we've lulled them to sleep, and they're now submissive. And it's only a few of you that stand, and we tend to just push you guys out of the court and make it look like it was a technicality, because we don't want the rest of the people around the world to wake up and realize what the hell has happened.
Yeah, wait till we start walking into these rooms 30 strong. We have a quorum of witnesses. Yeah, we have a quorum of witnesses that are willing to put together a grand jury on the spot.
That's right. Absolutely. The thing is, we need to educate our sheriffs. Our sheriffs really are our first line of defense. And unfortunately, they're being trained by the FBI at this point. And consequently enough, the FBI is supposed to be overseeing the judiciary and moving actions under Title 18 against these treasonous rat bastards, and they're not doing their jobs. And instead, they're helping the judiciary fleece us for tens of trillions of dollars a year, or credits, permissible units, credits on account, however you want to identify what you call currency or money. I know it to be a number of instruments that you can use that generate credits on account, whether it be a private bill of exchange, a promissory note, an IBOE, tax credits under publication 950. I believe it articulates in the IRS manual that publication 950 that each American has 11.2 million tax credits gifted to them every year. Well, those tax credits equate to currency or money or substance of value, credits on account. And that is there for you to offset and discharge and do a recoupment and get your 11.2 million tax credits a year back. But nobody understands that. I've got a friend that's got an MBA, a master's degree in accounting. She never learned any of this stuff. They started showing her this stuff, and she goes, "This just blows my mind. I've never even heard of this, Derek." I said, "It's right there in black and white. Publication 950, publication 1212. It's all right there. And you're a bean counter by profession. You got an MBA." She goes, "Spend $70,000 for school for an MBA." And she goes, "It's absolutely worthless." I said, "Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a joke, because you stopped your education thinking that piece of paper qualified you. So there was no need to learn anything else. Just follow the protocol and never question anything. Do as you're told, and we'll compensate you very nicely for it." Well, now that she's learning the truth, she has a hard time facilitating her masters that she's subject.
Yeah, she should be getting paid in beans, as in coffee beans, huh? So she can learn the real value of real exchange.
Right.
See, my mom and dad are both the same situation. My mom worked for the Social Security Administration for 27 years. And people, I guarantee you, she probably never read the Social Security Act. My dad was a real estate appraiser his entire life. I guarantee you, he probably knows not a thing about metes and bounds, weights and measures. And what it comes down to is really learning the differences between these words. Because you were talking about these tax credits. The major bill of exchange is a letter of credit. It's a notice letting them know that you have the credit, not them. And when you look at your letters patent, that's a public letter that you put on a public record, a land patent. Look up letters closed. It's the opposite. It's giving them that notice of letter of credit in private. Hey, this is your notice of liability. I own those credits, not you. If you get caught using those credits against me or my fellow man, I'm going to hang you, bitch.
Right.
Excuse my language.
I've been studying a lot about Title 18, and everybody's always saying, where do you get the enforcement? Where do you get the enforcement? Where do you get the enforcement? The enforcement comes by the way you carry yourself. The enforcement comes by persistence. There's an old adage, if you see something and ignore it, then pay no attention. But if you see something and it warrants merit, be persistent. Stay after it. Make sure to correct the wrongs that are being done. I'm telling you right now, statutes, codes, and provisions absolutely apply to agents and agency, period. That's what they were designed for, to keep those agents and agency in check. Now it's been polluted, 180 degrees perverted, to fall back onto the American people and furthermore the people of the world. And the truth of the matter is, that is our enforcement. Title 18 is your enforcement. I love 1661, Title 18, 1661, piracy on land. To get off a vessel, come ashore, and to loot somebody.
Yeah, they get out of that cop car.
Yeah. When they get out of their vessel, they're creating piracy on land, and the punishment for that is death. Now, I don't wish death upon anybody. I don't.
No.
I don't. And life imprisonment seems pretty harsh. I'd be willing to forgive them as long as they could acknowledge their mistake and not continue to make the same mistake. To make a mistake once.
Do that 180-degree turn and start doing good works.
Yeah. To make a forgivable mistake once is a mistake to be forgiven. To do it repetitively shows action and intent. So once I've brought it to your attention that what you're doing is wrong and you don't take the corrective measures to correct it, I don't give a crap that, well, I'm just doing my job and that's what I get paid to do. I've told board members over and over and over in these counties, all I hear you arguing about is how you can fleece your fellow man and increase the CAFR and the coffers that you manage. That's business. That has nothing to do with liberty. It has nothing to do with freedom. It has nothing to do with helping your fellow man. If we're going to start helping our fellow man at these board meetings, at these county board meetings and city board meetings, let's start talking about the release of funds from the CAFR that belong to we the people, the creditors. And we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars throughout the United States. I think there was a consensus done not too long ago by a very intelligent man who was a bookkeeper, and he said there was over 66 trillion in the CAFRs in the United States alone that belongs to the American people. There's no need for hungry people here. There's no need for homeless people here. We have, millions of homes that are vacant. Those homes shouldn't be vacant. They don't belong to the bank because the bank's insolvent. They don't belong to the government. The government's insolvent. The government's a corporation. It's there for our benefit. We are supreme stockholders in that corporation, and we are due dividends checks from that corporation for our participation within the system. And it's important to know who you are. And I think we're going to get there real soon.
Yeah, two things here real quick. Back to your comment earlier about the sheriff and the FBI. Here locally, we have a sheriff that knows his position, and he is a very honorable man. He's got a couple deputies that work under him that are very honorable. They won't allow CPS to come in and take children. They couple of them pretty much refuse to write traffic citations unless you're just idiotic about it. And he tells the FBI, no, we don't want your help. And that's very honorable.
That's fantastic. Honestly, I try and communicate with the sheriffs as much as possible because contrary to everybody's belief, I'm not anti-law. The laws are very clear. They're written in the good book. Don't murder, don't steal, don't rape, don't covet thy neighbor, honor your mother and father. I mean, all the basic moral principles. So there is a need for law.
Romans 13, verse 4.
I'm not a heathen. I don't run around lawless. I have laws. I have a moral compass within. And so I support law enforcement. provided that they're not enforcing for unjust enrichment to gain for their precinct and their corporation. If
Right.
if we're to uphold the law, let's uphold the law. Let's get rid of these facilitating agents who tend to fleece the American people and cause hardship. We're already in time of suffering because they took the gold and silver from us in 1933. Let's not further cause injury to the people by fleecing them, and forcing upon them, extensive labor. It's involuntary servitude at the end of the day.
Right. When it comes to these statutory laws, they only apply to government, first of all. And this is in reference to Romans 13, verse 4. They're supposed to minister. They're not supposed to govern. They're supposed to minister. And so when it comes to these statutory laws, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about these land pirates. I don't want to kill them. I want them to repent. And that's what these statutory laws are for, is that when they go out of their bounds, when they go extrajudicial and start acting in contempt themselves, they apply to them. They're supposed to take that money out of their pocket that we're willing to give them and pay in taxes for their compensation for ministry.
Right.
And when they go beyond that ministry and they violate those statutes have fines and penalties attached to them to help them turn that 180 degrees and apply in good faith and due diligence those statutes to themselves and to minister our affairs. That's it. They're not to be used against us. And that's what they're doing, is they're taking advantage of that ignorance of the law that we have by not knowing the law and using it against us. Hosea 4, verse 6, my people shall perish for lack of knowledge.
That's right.
And that's
Amen. Amen. So recently what we've been working on is the bonds on the private side, and we're having a lot of good luck with that. We've also been using the IRS as our hellhounds, our collection agents, to administer these administrative processes for which they are generating these bonds, these securities, and essentially what they're doing is creating identity theft, and then they create securities fraud. And so we're contacting the Criminal Investigation Division, also the SEC. We're getting a hold of the DOD. The Secret Service actually works for us. So it's important to understand the Secret Service. Don't be afraid of the Secret Service. Contact them. The U.S. Marshals are glorified collection agencies. That's what they do. They're collection agents. And so reporting stuff to them isn't going to do you any good. But when you've got something to be collected, by gosh, call your U.S. Marshals and have them go ascertain the property that's yours. We're learning about the SF-28s. I got a whole pile of them right here. We're working on a case right now.
real quick here, folks.
28, 25A, 25, 24. And we're reversing what they're doing, because as I read to you in the subrogation earlier, what they're doing is creating stuff in your good name. And so then we're doing the Form 56F and appointing the judge, the fiduciary trustee over this matter. And then we'll also send that Form 56 with all the judge's information to the Secretary of State. And we'll also be sending it to the DOJ Criminal Division. Now, they say, give them time to act appropriate. Well, I've already seen their behavior in the past. And so we're just going to go ahead and forward all this on to the appropriate divisions. Now, from that point, they'll be scrutinized on their performance. To do things after the fact is almost always entirely in vain. So let's just nip it in the butt right away and do a fair reporting. I want to encourage all the viewing listeners. You only have 3 jobs: make an observation, create a record, and report it. That's it. Other than that, you have no obligation. Leave it to the professionals who are licensed by the licensor to do such investigations. I was told by a very intelligent man, when I get pulled over, I'm not authorized to help in a police investigation. My first question, is this a police investigation? Yes, it is. Oh, well, I hate to inform you of this, but I'm not authorized by the licensor. I don't carry a license as a licensee to participate in an investigation. I don't qualify. So at this point, I have to remain silent. go ahead and do whatever you got to do. But there's nothing I can do to help you at this point because I'm not authorized to do that. Okay. The other thing is when they ask you your name, a quid pro quo's in order. Well, I need your name first. You want something from me. I need something for you. What's your name? Most often they'll say, well, it's Roberts 847. Oh, great. Well, if that's how you choose to identify, then mine is Gonzalez 0958. How you like them apples? What are you going to do? Are you going to take me to jail for failure to identify? I identified exactly the way you're trained to identify, and it seems to work for you, and it should work for me then. There's a quid pro quo standing here, okay?
Yep.
So remember that, and it's you don't ever want to be combative.
No, I'm a peaceful man.
The ignorance on the side of the road is unbecoming of anybody. The training that these people receive, they're actually trained to lie to you. They'll tell you that right to your face. Well, yeah, during an investigation, I'm allowed to lie. But if you lie to them, it's impeding an investigation. And I just find it absolute asinine. Absolute asinine.
Yep.
And you can disqualify any of these road pirates on the stand because if you ask them if they lie, they'll flat out tell you on the stand, yeah, I lie. Right there, they've just disqualified themselves. They've just created reasonable doubt that they're telling the truth on the stand. And that's enough to dismiss any case right there.
Real quick here, back to your Wells Fargo thing. I wanted to make a note. I hope people comprehend, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the United States Marshal is a derivative of Wells Fargo.
I'm not certain. I would have to research that. It would be interesting. I would say that maybe the marshals came along due to the bank robberies back in the day with the stagecoaches. So you may be absolutely correct on that.
Yeah. And a couple other things when we think about two words. Again, back to I have a calling. I'm a ward of his house. Think about these collections and the rewards and awards. Reward, $5,000 reward. They want to put him back into custody.
Right.
Award, they're giving you a person.
So I've got this. I'm not going to read too much of this because it's actually really hard hitting, and I don't know that it's beneficial to share it online. Please note, I've been informed the court sold bonds and or securities bearing the name Derek Satan Gonzalez under the Social Security number without my knowledge and consent, which I believe is securities fraud, as well as breach of your fiduciary duties. While I am not making such an accusation at this time, I am giving you the opportunity to rectify the situation. Enclosed, you will find a GSA form of OF 90, release of lien, real property, OF 91, release of personal property from escrow, SF 28, affidavit of individual surety, SF 24, bid bond, SF 25, performance bond, and SF 25A, payment bond. These bonds authorize you to order the release of the defendant surety from prison and or condition of release. I demand to release immediately. I demand to be released immediately. I also demand that the record for case number, whatever the case number is, be amended to reflect the proper accounting to maintain the integrity of the data used in the national matching program. It is my intent through the use of these government forms to provide the remedy to settle and close the case and all associated accounts. It is my understanding that the defendant trust has been an agency vessel of the United States since June 10th, 1984, and a resident of the state of Nebraska or Arizona or whatever state you're in. Title 26 USC 2031, C 2065, C 2652 definitions of a trust. Any arrangement that has the effect of a trust is a trust, whether it is called a trust or not. Insinuation, Black's 8th edition and 5th edition. Anytime a deed is recorded by insinuation, it is called a donation. Due to the fraud of the secrecy, 2016 balance sheet, 1041 instructions booklet, page 2, 6, and 13, 6209 decoding manual, title 12, section 1813, L-1. Any note deposited in a demand deposit account becomes the equivalent of cash and is cash proceeds. RCW 62A.3-104E, UCC 3-104E. Any note is a liability instrument or it can be treated as a draft. endorsed on the back as payee, and Derek Chaton Gonzalez, the estate, the all caps, was the payor of, as in a check. I am contracting officer for said trust, and no contracts are entered into without my signature. Now, I'm not going to read any more of this. It's extraordinarily powerful. I don't want it to be on the internet in that facet. You want to touch base on that, Keith?
Well, the only thing I want to touch base on there is, first of all, this is accurate, in my opinion, deeply in my opinion. Second of all, comprehend something there. When he was reading that, he was talking about fines, fees, penalties, and release from prison.
That's right.
And let the record reflect the accurate accounting. This is expungement of the record. It no longer belongs in public. It is no longer belonging to the person because the person no longer exists. That case has been closed.
Yeah. This document that I have before me is 4 pages, and you want to talk about powerful, hard-hitting. I mean, the facts are just overwhelming. So again, what we're doing with the SF 24, 25, and 25A, because they were created in our name, and the prosecutor is responsible for giving us the receipt, the 1099 OID receipt, and more than likely they've either created it and they're hiding it and hindering us from the truth, which is obstruction of justice and fraud by utilizing our good name without our consent, which is identity theft, to unjustly enrich themselves and their bar association buddies who aren't compliant with the Foreign Registration Act of 1938. Most often, they do not have registered DBAs, which is a third-degree misdemeanor, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, to be doing business under a facetious and false name under Title 18, 1001, false and misleading statements. There's just a lot to be gained here, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of knowledge to be learned. But once you break through the fundamental concept of right and wrong, this stuff just opens up to you, and you can see it for what it really is, which is a constructive fraud against the people of the world, using a menagerie of language and deception through the forced bankruptcy.
Right. I'm making a note here. I'm putting it in the comments. One of the big ones is Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 1951, interference of commerce by threats or violence.
That's right. And you also find that in Title 15, interfering with commerce is a big no. No.
Yeah, that's a violation of maximum law. Every man is worthy of his hire.
That's right. And it's also found in the Bible as well. And then we also want to look at the Power of Appointment Act of 1951. That's where your Form 56 has all its power. You can do the Form 56, but if you don't know where it yields the power from, it's almost useless. It's almost futile. So when you submit your Form 56F, and you're going to do it in private using registered mail, because that's the private side of things, a red registered mail labeled 200, you're going to send that privately to the judge, privately to the clerk of the court, privately to the prosecutor, okay? And then you're going to go ahead and do a certificate of mailing to the Secretary of State, the governor, the attorney general, all right, and then the DOJ criminal division, to let them all know that you have now placed them as fiduciary trustee over the estate. Now, when you give them that fiduciary trustee relationship with you, you're not giving up your unalienable rights to manage that. That is not what happens. You still are a shot caller in that. But what you're putting out there is that you're the grantor, the grantee, the beneficiary. You can be the bailor, the settler, the heir. At any time, you can change how the modus of operandi is handled, okay?
Correct. Real quick here, let me interject.
Go ahead.
The important thing to know here, people, is we do this because we are not knowing of the process, but we know they do, okay? And so when we assign them this kind of stuff, and as we go on in years and we learn, this is stuff we're supposed to be teaching our young ones so that they don't have to do this assignment. They can say, no, I already know. This is what happens, this is what happens, this is what happens. Again, Hosea 4 verse 6, my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. Share this, people.
One of the other things that I feel is vitally important for the people around the world to know, and particularly in North America, Title 50, subsection 5403 or 02, it's B2, done in good faith. Everything you must do in good faith. Put it in writing, your intent, and ask for help. Now, if you've asked for help and they refuse to help you, and they've hindered you and caused you harm, damage, injury, and loss while you were trying to operate in good faith, and because they knew the process, they shirk their dereliction of duty, causing you injury, now you have cause for claim, okay? And now they can't come after you and persecute you for a wrong because you were openly asking as public trustees to facilitate you in your needs out of necessity, okay? For lack of knowledge. You were asking for help. So if they come back to prosecute you for something you did, even though you asked for their help and they chose not to help you, now the onus of probandi falls back on them for why they didn't assist you. If they bring you into a court and they claim that you've committed fraud, the first thing you need to say is, I recognize a mistake. Clearly there's a mistake made or I wouldn't be here. Now you as the trustee have a fiduciary duty to help me do this correctly because I wish to stand in honor with my fellow man. And none of this was done with the moral intent to defraud or debase or harm anybody, including the public trust. I'm here to offset the national debt. I'm here to help the American people. I'm here to help further the people of the world. And now you have a duty to help me as well.
Right. And this is the importance of using that Bible as a commercial instrument. Genesis 17, verse 1. I am Almighty God. So long as you follow my way, you shall be blameless. So when you step into that court, like he says, I'm sorry, I see an error. Can you help me? That's Matthew 15. Or Matthew 18, verses 15 through 20, going to your brother. Please forgive my transgressions as I forgive those who have transgressed against me. But I'm trying to do in my Father's house what is honorable. What do I need to correct it? Simple.
Yep. Now, once you've been instructed on the proper methods for correction and you choose not to correct it, now we can prove negligence and intent. Now you're on the hook for not being
responsible. You're liable.
Okay, so they're going to put the onus of probandi back on you after they help give you what you need, which is that rendered assistance. But if you choose not to act after that, now we've got willful intent, malice, dereliction of duty on your part. The name of the game is always to remain in an operation of honor through responsibility. That's it. That's all it is. It's very, very, very simple.
People, you don't have rights. You have a responsibility to do what is right.
Let me capitalize on that. Rights is actually a commercial term. Rights. You have a right. I have a right to bear arms. I have a right to pee. I have a right to eat. I have a right to forage for food. So what right? All my right. Well, it throws people off because it's not a plural connotation. But the fact of the matter is, it very much is. So what right do you waive? I don't waive any right. Okay. So what rights do you stand upon? All my right. Okay. And so it's understanding that the language they're using by the word rights, it's a commercial term. Rights is a commercial term. And it deals with
that's why I use R-I. That's why I use R-I-T-E.
Right.
It's different. R-I-G-H-T is the commercial, and R-I-T-E is the inherent. I have a right. They have a right to bear arms. I have a right to armorial bearings.
Right.
Everything's backwards.
It is. It's 180 degrees in the mirror. It's backwards. It's completely backwards. So all bonds, all cases are commercial. CFR 277211. I don't care if it's rape, murder, theft, securities fraud. It's all commercial. And to prove that it's all commercial, when you're in that commercial venue or revenue or revenue generating venue, it's all about bonds, securities. And it took a DTC agent conveying that to me. He said, Derek, you got to stop talking about money. You and I both know money doesn't exist anymore in this economy. In this society, there is no money. It's all negotiable instruments. It's private bills of exchange. It's securities, bills of lading, bills of credit, letters of credit, things of that nature. So once you, the audience, can start to see the truth of what's really happening and all the remedies that are there. That's why you can't sue these people for fraud. They'll always dismiss the case for a frivolous claim for which relief cannot be granted. One, you didn't attempt to settle it in the private first before you brought it to the public. You have to exhaust all your remedies before you go to a court. Nobody ever does that. I think that's a lot of the reason why nobody prevails in these courts is because they didn't try and settle it amicably on the private side first. Two, if you did make that attempt on the private side to settle it, you didn't follow a process, a private process, using a notary, witnesses, and mailing, proper mailing, to document all the attempts to remedy the situation. And so we're falling short on that aspect because we're not doing our research as far as that goes. But so I hope these videos are helping you guys. That's genuinely why I do them. A lot of my friends are asking me not to make these videos anymore because you put yourself in harm's way by doing so. You're taking money out of you're taking credits on account out of the people's hands who have systematically designed this system to benefit them. And it's a dangerous gig to talk about it. So, again, I appreciate everything that Keith has done and is continuing to do. Justin Nolan, you got Amin Osiris, Mark, the God of Dismissal. There's all kinds of people out there. Don Colleen, another one, that are just absolutely helping people all the way around the block. David Jose, David Straight. I mean, I could go on for days about all the people who are going through this painstaking ordeal of helping wake up the American people and show them where we've been led astray. I think one of the most fundamental basic things we as people could do is take back our school systems and educate our youth. We're at the bottom of the barrel as far as educational curriculum that is beneficial through engaging in commerce internationally. We're ranked probably one of the worst as far as education goes. And we need to bring back the good book back into our school system and help people have an ascension of the mind. Because effectively what has happened is we've all been dumbed down, and to the degree where we're submissive because we don't know any better. We're nothing more than cattle and sheep at this point because we don't have a free thought amongst ourselves. So it's time to start thinking outside of the box, start paying attention to these other people who are bringing light to subjects and situations that, whether they directly or indirectly affect you, they have relevance, ladies and gentlemen. So, anything else you'd like to capitalize on?
Well, David, I try my best to be a wordsmith. And you see David Zion Berger's comment here, secular humanist. Think about that, people. Okay, even the word man is something that was. You said we bring ourselves down to a lower level because of our ignorance and not knowing. Even the word man is a definition. Okay. Right. So everything that they use against you in a court of law, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Whose court of law are we talking about, buddy? Are we talking about a manual court of law where they've written something down? Or are we talking about a spiritual court of law where you're led by the hand of a spirit?
Right. Right.
Think about it. It goes right back to that word right. We don't have rights. We have a responsibility. And when I talk about rights, I'm talking about a right to a memorial bearing. Where was I brought into this world? And whose world is it? It's not yours. It's his.
Yeah, where do you
stewards of his house.
Where do you get the right to enforce provisions on the road if you don't own the road. I can't kick you off property I don't rightfully own. I don't have the authority. Where's your writ of authority? Where's the writ of execution? Show me how you have dominion to lay provisions, statutes, and codes upon your fellow man. Show me. Show me you own the road.
Yep.
Show me your charter. Show me your delegation of authority. They can never do
Yeah,
it.
show me your eminent domain. Folks, I live in a place here called eminence. Eminence. Okay? Eminent domain means paramount dominion. Okay? And so when these public offices sit there and claim paramount domain, the hell you do. You got it written down in a manual. Talk to the man above, see who he said, what he says. You didn't create shit.
That's
He
right.
gave everything you have freely. Again, excuse my language. He gave everything freely, and we're supposed to give freely because of that. That's
Amen.
eminent domain.
Amen. So, well, I'm going to get back to studying, brother. I appreciate you joining me on here. It's been a blast. I've been looking to get you on for quite some time. We need to do some more of these. I am going to send you over this 4-page document because you're just going to be smitten by it. And it goes into the banking aspect of it because we are the creditors. Without our energy,
Yes.
nothing can happen. Period. Nothing is done
Exactly.
without us. And you can just about put the judicial system as part of the 1%ers. And if the 99% stands up, the 1% grows meek, weak, and weary. And they're noticing the
You
turn
see
of the tide.
You see that meme where everybody's bowing down to the one in front of the pulpit.
Right.
One stands up and the others look around and they see him standing. Now they're wondering who they're going to bow to.
Right.
Think about it, people.
Yep. And so together, again, like I said, I'm not all knowing, I'm not all powerful, I'm not all wise, but together we can overcome this adversity that's been placed upon us, this involuntary servitude. But we have to do it correct. We have to do it while standing in honor and by becoming learned and helping one another and looking out for one another. We do the best that we can. I know Keith is in desperate need of a new computer. The man, if we can get together and put some funds together for him and get him something, the man does videos religiously for your benefit and asks for nothing in return. So if we can return the favor to Keith, if somebody's got a good computer, or we can come up with, $1,100 in donations, a couple dollars a piece from everybody, and we can get him a great computer, he can continue to make wonderful audios and videos, and it will help him with the documentation that I send him that he's not able to open because he has outdated software that will not allow him to open certain programs. So if we could help Keith out on that for all the help that he provides to us, that would be fantastic. Keith, do you have, can you capitalize on that? Do you have somewhere where they can donate to you? PayPal, a money order through the mail, or is there?
Right. I just did finally get a proxy PayPal account. As most of you guys know, I don't do much with the commercial system, but I do have that doctrine of necessity where I need those Federal Reserve notes. So I don't have any bank accounts or anything. So I have to do a PayPal through a proxy account. Plus, Walmart does the money transfers, and I do have a valid ID for that. But again, I'd like to get away from that. I'm still trying to find out.
Is there somewhere somebody could send you a postal money order? Is there an address for which you could receive postal money orders? Sometimes that's the easiest for people to be able to donate to the cause and to help you out and help you get a computer so you can stay up to date with us. Because again, I've spent over $5,000 in computer programs to be able to communicate with the government, to be able to fill out certain documents, to be able to correct certain documents, amend documents. I have to have Adobe Acrobat and a number of other programs, and it's very costly. People go, well, I can't do that, Derek. I'm on my computer and it won't let me. And I keep forgetting that the government continues to update their processes and their computer programs. And if you don't have the funds to keep up with their changes incrementally, eventually you fade out because you're unable to communicate with them anymore. in the world of electronic transfer of data and information. So this is very, very vital to Keith to be able to keep him up with the rest of us in studying. Do you have an address we can send postal money orders to?
I'm punching it in right now in the comments so everybody can just copy and paste. But please be aware, do it exact. This is through a PMA, which is a very important element that people need to comprehend and educate yourselves on. This is in reference. Reference is a very important word in the legal world. This is in reference to the First Amendment, freedom of association, which again goes back to the maxim of law. Every man is worthy of his hire. The freedom of association is why they killed Jimmy Hoffa. He was trying to express to the people that they have that freedom of association because they have they're worthy of their hire, and that is under the international union labor laws. That is an international. Again, we go back to the uniform throughout all jurisdictions. So comprehend, this is a PMA address. Please do it exact. And this is for anything, money orders, products. A lot of you guys know I like to barter and trade, and one of my things is knives. I like to refurbish and refinish knives. So if you have any old blades or parts that I could use, you can send them here as well. So, and again, I appreciate you putting this out there for me, Derek. Like I said, I just opened a proxy PayPal account. That's helping out, and it's time for me to move. You know, like I've been doing these videos for a number of years, and I'd like to be able to move and create some good, solid waves within this, within the communities, so we can, so as those waves go along, they can help keep lifting people up, so they can start riding on top of those waves.
Yep. Well, we can't do it alone, and we appreciate everybody's help and consideration, and we hope we bring plenty of value for your consideration in doing these videos and these tutorials and the educational programming that we bring forward. I hope that it helps each and every one of you. And again, we have to pull together to make sure that everybody has the means to continue forward while we go through. And, you know, currently we're working on our end on accessing the available lines of credit. They've got people all over that are doing miraculous things right now, from offsetting debts, purchasing land, starting in-ground gardens for their communities, and they're doing it all out of their own private credit, ladies and gentlemen. They're writing their own private bills of exchange. They're running them through the Treasury. They're getting the credits on account, and they're putting out an itemized list of the things that they wish to do to better their community and to help their fellow man, and they're succeeding. It's all about intent, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about doing for others the best you can while still being able to survive. And so we appreciate all your help. Anything else you'd like to capitalize on there, Keith?
One last thing. And I've told you people this many times. My truth is not your truth. Your truth is not my truth. However, please comprehend, everything I've been speaking on is my own actual experience. Like I said earlier, we go to our brother and try to make amends first in private. And I've done this, you know, with my dogs going out and biting another dog. I went and made those amends. And that is how we're supposed to do it. That is my truth.
You eliminated controversy. And once the controversy was eliminated, there's nothing to make judgment or render a decision over. So you remove the element of the necessity of a judgment by acting
of a third-party intervener.
That's right. Yep. So with that, guys, we love you all. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can help Brother Keith with his endeavor on a new computer, for all the work that he does for people all around the world. Remember, this is a global issue, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just about the American people. This is a global issue run by the Bar Association for the betterment of their society. And remember, in their definition, there are two classes of citizen. There's a first class and a second class. And unfortunately, we're considered the second class peasant, even though we are the majority not the minority. And truth be told, we don't operate in deception and deceit and lies in order to trick you out of your sweat equity, which is otherwise known as your energy. It's the most valuable thing in the world is time. You can never get it back. And I care not what you offer me for my time if it's not perceived or received as valuable. Your time is the most precious thing in the world. You only have so many heartbeats to your ticker. There will only be so many days you'll be here. So make a lasting impact for your fellow man and help him ascend of the mind to get up there spiritually where you're at and learn from each other. I keep a very open mind and a broad horizon on gaining knowledge.
Two maxims here real quick, people. Again, I'm going to refer to the maxim that I just mentioned. Every man is worthy of his hire. And when we talk about standing up for ourselves, we're talking about the presence of the body cures the error in the name. Know thyself. Know this and stand up, people. Stand up now.
If we allow one man's right to be violated, we accept it among all. And that there lies the problem. To sit there and allow one man's firearms to be taken from him unjustly without due process is a violation of your rights sitting at home right now. To allow it to happen to
violation
just
of your own love.
Yep, to allow it to happen to just one of us is acceptance among all of us. And it should not be tolerated. It should not be had. It's time to unify. It's time to pull together. It's time to go into those courthouses 20, 30, 40 strong. And I'm not saying create an insurrection. I'm saying bring a notepad and a pen, write down what you observe, make a record, and report it. That's all you got to do. Make a record and report it. 2-3 witnesses are more than enough to bring an action, okay? You got 30, 40, 50 people in a court standing strong, understanding what these people are doing in a court by fleecing your fellow man, putting your foot down and saying enough's enough. We've had it. I've got 7 videos posted on my Facebook right now that deal with property taxes and how you remove your property from the property tax list. You do not have to pay property tax. It shows it conclusively in the law. You're only doing it due to your ignorance. You're doing it because your mom and your dad always told you that's just what is done. That's how we do things. It's not supported by the law. In fact, the law says just the opposite, that you voluntarily pay property tax and that you don't have to if you don't wish to. You simply just need to remove your property from the tax list at the Register of Deeds on the land record. And so go view those 7 audios. They're 15 minutes long. And the guy articulates brilliantly and beautifully how you could put your sweat equity back into your pocket that will help you in your home and help your fellow man by being able to take care of yourself and your family. So again, I hope these videos help. If you can help Brother Keith out, he needs a new computer. He's just not hip with the times as far as his computer goes to be able to keep up with the technology that has come out. We're unable to communicate at an efficient level. So again, if you can send anything Keith's way to help him out, in the comments below, he does have his PayPal, I believe, as well as an address for a PMA, a private member association, for which you can send a generous donation to him and help him out get another computer. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Brother Keith. Love you, buddy. I'll be making it down there to see you real soon. So tell everybody I said hello.
Will do, brother. Will do.
All right, brother.
Peace and love, brother.
Peace and love to you as well. Have a great day.